Okay, so I've talked a lot about the different ways in which you can get media coverage, the kind of stories that are out there, but I really wanted to emphasize to you how doable it is to get your own media coverage if you know how. And for that, I'm going to share with you a case study right now of Ruth, who's essentially a jeweler who has received one of my free guides, which is the How to Find PR Gold in Your Business Guide, and she went ahead and got amazing coverage for her own business. I wanted to share this with you because then you can see that getting PR coverage for your business is not out of your depth. It's doable, it's possible, it takes learning, but absolutely you can get your business the coverage that it deserves. So listen to this interview right now. To start with, what was your experience of PR? Had you done anything before?
We've been trying to get little bits in the paper for quite a number of years, because Martin and I have run this business now for over 30 years together, and we've done reasonably well. We've written letters to the paper on some occasions, or one or two previous kind of milestones or whatever. We've sort of given a story. We do find that the journalists for the local paper definitely are usually quite cooperative, and especially if you can come up with something that's reasonably well constructed. Sometimes they'll come round and take photos and just send a reporter to interview, but I often prefer to try to write a bit of a press release so they've got something they can just use as is if they're pushed for time or whatever.
So how do you find, when it comes to perhaps they get in touch and they say, could you give me a press release? How do you find that whole skill? Because obviously you're not a PR person or journalist. So how do you find writing a press release?
I've always enjoyed writing myself. English was one of my favourite subjects at school. So I do quite enjoy it, but I have read one or two books on how to write press releases and so on. It's definitely well worth having a go. But saying that, definitely the local journalists, if need be, they will come and just have a chat. At times, if you've got a really exciting story, just contacting the local paper or whoever, I would often just pop over the road myself because they have an office round the corner from our shop. But otherwise, I would perhaps phone or email and speak to a reporter, and they will often then try to pop round and get the story themselves. But if I've got something which is sort of just fairly modest but can be made into a story, then I feel if I give it to them in a fairly well-rounded form, that they don't have to do too much work on themselves. They're more likely to use it.
I'm just going to ask you about the guide now, which I sent over, and that was the guide that you referred to, which prompted you. Could I just ask, how did you find the guide in general?
I really liked that guide, that chart you did on PR Gold. Some of the things I did already know, but it reminded me, and in this case it particularly jogged my memory. We did have quite an important anniversary coming up. It was our 20th year as a pawnbroker, and it made me think, I really must write this up. This is something perhaps they might use. And we did actually I think they did a half-page spread in the local paper, and it went in the online version as well. Several people mentioned seeing it in the paper. I'm pretty certain we did get at least one new customer, definitely, because of it. So really very grateful for that, Halima. I thought it was a marvellous chart, and I'm sure I'll be referring back to it again to give me other ideas for PR in the future. I do think it is important in this day and age. We're all trying to keep costs down. It's harder and harder perhaps to really make the profit one would like. And this is far more effective often than directly advertising. Martin and I have found over the years that managing to get editorial coverage or just sort of get your name out there in various ways is often far better than actually paying for an advert of any kind. So it is worth the time. I would say definitely worth it.